Good morning. My name is Angela Daly, and it's my pleasure to introduce our next REACHtalk, Earning Enhancements with Alternative Investments. But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, McQueen Financial Advisors, and ask that you stop by the exhibit hall and thank them for bringing this session to us today. Also, don't forget, today's sessions will be available on demand tomorrow. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker this morning, Charlie McQueen, President and CEO of McQueen Financial Advisors. Charlie.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate the introduction. It's nice to see everyone virtually here at the REACH 2020 conference. Again, I'm Charlie McQueen, President of McQueen Financial Advisors. I'm going to be your brief presenter today. A little bit of background. I've been in this business since 1999, and actually before that, that's when we started McQueen Financial. We get involved in all sorts of areas, from investment advisory to valuations. And actually, one of the neat things about the valuations areas, we're the group that actually started the trend of credit unions acquiring banks. And it's been a lot of fun for us. We're continuing to have fun there. Let's do a lot of ALM work, CECL and consulting, and which really gives us some unique spots to really look towards today's topic, which is really looking at alternative investments. And why our background gives us this unique ability is because we really understand the balance sheets, the income statements, and the challenges that credit unions face today. And so alternative investments is something we'll talk about as an activity to really enhance earnings. And we're going to talk specifically about employee benefit pre-funding accounts, EBPA, and charitable donation accounts. And in both of these, we're going to talk about higher earnings, but with the employee benefit pre-funding accounts, we're going to talk a bit about retention. And then the charitable donation accounts, something I know that's high in everyone's mind today, is how to actually forward social impact. We're going to talk a bit about that. In the end, we'll talk about some of the investment options also. So with that, why an EBPA, employee benefit pre-funding account, or a charitable donation account, CDA, portfolio? Well, again, it really comes down to where we are in this interest rate environment. Margins are getting tougher and tougher. We're beginning to see a lot of actually large banks announce their earnings this week in the amount 18-20% reductions in net interest margins. So massive numbers are starting to come through. It's due to this low interest rate environment. And so we believe that earnings are going to be challenging well through 2021 and farther. And what we're looking for here is a way to enhance earnings. It is legal for a federal credit union, and it's also legal for states, although states do have some varying rules here, that credit unions can make investments that otherwise would be impermissible in the Act. And this gives us the ability to do this to fund these two types of accounts, employee benefit pre-funding and charitable donation accounts. So our prediction, why I really firmly believe behind this, our prediction has been 4 years of low interest rates, and the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, came out and said they're seeing at least 2 years of low interest rates. So we firmly expect to see Fed funds running close to zero, or overnight funds running close to zero, and a continual margin compression for the next couple of years. And really looking at this chart of the yield curve, the red dotted line is today. Now, the black dotted line is back where we were in December of 12, which was the previous all-time low of interest rates. We're much lower, much flatter, which is causing a tougher spot. And if you think about this, loan balances are challenging. It's hard to get loans today. People are not borrowing as much money. People are taking stimulus money and paying down debts. Credit card balances are actually declining. And so what we're seeing is this increase of deposits and a reduction of loans, which is really pushing the margin, which is a really great time to look at non-interest income solutions. And today we're going to focus talking about these unique type of investments, non-standard investments, what we refer to as alternative investments in the credit union space. So what is an alternative investment portfolio? An alternative investment portfolio is a portfolio created to provide additional earnings, and it's really focused on benefits and giving. Now, again, as I mentioned, we can invest in non-credit union approved investments. And what's important here, though, is everyone's a bit different, where we have to make sure we understand the risk position, the ALM position, the earnings, and the equity position of your credit union to make sure that we have the right amount. So there are limitations. The NCUA has a clear set of definitions. Each state, some have agreed with NCUA, some have additional limitations that they impose. But again, it's a way to earn additional income. And so we look at this. What are the two types again? Well, what we're looking at here is how to enhance earnings. And the employee benefit pre-funding account is really a way just to get and offset employee benefits. And in our next couple slides here, we're going to talk specifically about what types of employee benefits that we can use and what types of employee benefits we can use as an expense and help offset. And then charitable donation accounts will then go down the path and talk about those, as there are some limiting factors and things that we can utilize as donations and not utilize as donations. So a CDA portfolio is a wonderful source of higher earning assets to help us out and give it more giving capability. So as we go here is an EBPA portfolio can provide great earnings and help retain long-term talent. Well, wait a minute, how can I retain long-term talent? And that to me is one of the key things here that I'm excited about, is that we're able to incentivize people to stay with us at no cost to the credit union. So kicking off from here, employee benefit pre-funding, again, we're taking some of our excess liquidity. I know we all have lots of extra deposits today. We're going to take a portion of that liquidity, move it into a portfolio. And then the earnings of that portfolio is designed that we can cover very specific expenses. A good list of them here is health insurance premiums, life insurance costs, retirement benefits, 401k contributions, funding of 457 plans, and then other post-employment activities. And the important thing here is we cannot have a portfolio that earns more than paying for these things. Last I checked, I don't think we're going to be able to have a portfolio that just can cover health insurance premiums alone because of how fast health insurance premiums are growing. So basically what this says is we can invest the full amount that we're limited to here, and we can use it for any of these activities. But there are some testing we do and you need to do to make sure that we're not over these limitations. And speaking of health insurance, one of the things just to keep in the back of our mind is in 2018, which is the last year we have really good data on, an employee-sponsored plan was roughly $30,000 was the employer side of it. So just extremely expensive. PPO plans went up 5.1% in 2018 alone, and that was the lowest increase in 10 years. I just don't see health costs going down anytime soon. Interesting, we're just going through the healthcare adjustments for our company for this next year, and we are seeing some reasonably sized increases also. From 2010 to 2015, the average increase for the employer side of the cost was 32%, or 6.4% annually. And that's according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and their healthcare report. So when I look at this and say, gosh, you know, they're not huge numbers up 5-6% a year, although they're compounded 5-6%, and these are some of the smallest numbers we've seen. We look at where we used to talk about where we invest and put into the investment portfolio, it doesn't meet this, and a lot of loans today don't meet this level of growth. So it's really a great spot for us to help offset this continually rising cost of healthcare. And when we look at this, we invest in the EBA portfolio. I'm a big fan of really focusing on two things: 401k or healthcare expenses, and then getting down to attracting employees. Now, how do we attract employees, which to me is one of the really good keys here with the EBPA portfolios. So kind of work through a process. So what I like to do is we work with a client, we determine the needs. What are the needs? Well, hey, let's just say we have a key employee, a key executive that we don't want to lose at the credit union, and we're nervous that maybe they get recruited away. That happens this day and age, but they're going to retire in 10 years, and we want to retain them. And so what we're going to do is go to and figure out a plan for this employee to say, when you retire in 10 years, we're going to give you $100,000 if you stay for the 10 years. All right. So then what do we need to do? Well, the next step, step 2, is we have to develop a funding schedule. And so again here, we need to accrue a liability on the balance sheet, $10,000 a year for 10 years. So if we accrue this liability on the balance sheet of the credit union, in 10 years, we write a check for $100,000 and the employee has received what we want. Well, how do we fund this? And so our third step is we need to build a portfolio that is going to earn enough money to put the $10,000 aside every year to cover this retirement benefit, so there's no cost to the credit union. That is our goal when putting together these plans. And how we do this, remember, is these supplemental or these alternative portfolios that we're talking about here, they do invest in non-credit union standard investments. And that is where we're able to take a little more risk for additional return. So here we need to earn $10,000 more a year without reducing our earnings. So if we invest $500,000 and get a net return of 4%. So we're not talking a huge 8, 9, 10, 12% return here. We're just talking about a small return of 4%. As long as we can generate a 4% return, we're going to earn $20,000 a year. So let's take half of that. Let's take $10,000, effectively a 2% yield. We're going to put it towards normal earnings. I used to say roughly the same as your investment portfolio, so it's not quite there. Portfolio yields are a bit lower, but we're effectively saying, hey, this could be a standard investment. And then we place the $10,000 towards the benefit. In the end, you actually have the same return, and you're paying this benefit and accruing this benefit to be able to retain a key employee. So thus, this is really, really exciting, and this is a great way to fund a retention of employee or multiple employees. We always recommend you do at least 2 or 3 employees, not just one. Every institution is a little different. We have to spend some time with that. So for me, really exciting. And along with that, though, not only do we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our employees and retaining the employees and the talent that we need, there's things that we can do with alternative portfolios for helping with donations and social impact. And that is a charitable donation portfolio. And so how can we do that? Well, it's quite similar as we were looking at the EVP accounts. There's a charitable donation account. What we're going to do is take some of our excess liquidity again, and we're going to put it into a portfolio. Now, one of the caveats with CDA portfolios is that we need to give away 51% of the earnings on an annual basis. Effectively, we can do it over a 3, 4, or 5 year time frame, but we have to give away 51% of the income. But it also must go to 501c3 charities. We have a lot of clients using this as a way to clean up gifting. Hey, we give money to all these different spots and it's not getting our mission done or our goals done. We've seen people revamp this and go down a path of saying we're only going to create one activity we donate to, or we're going to create a foundation, or we're going to donate to the foundation and do activities from there. So why gifting portfolio versus just giving? Well, now, even before our 4% yields, I talked about 5% yields. So we'll have a little fun here and say if we focus on a 5% yield on the investment portfolio, which again, a very, very low yield. If we gift 50% of the income, we have to give 51, but 50% is a simple math here. We end up with a net return of 2.5%, or very similar again to our bond portfolio yield. And then everything else above that we gift. So we actually don't have any earnings impact, and it gives us the ability to give money. And so in the end here with this simple example, we want to donate $25,000 a year without reducing our earnings. If we invest $1 million and receive a 5% return, we're going to generate $50,000 a year of income. So again, we're going to give 50% of that way to charity and 50% of that to the credit union. So in the end, we have a $25,000 ability to donate without impacting our earnings at all. So to me, that's really exciting. Obviously, this can be scaled. This could be a $5 million or $10 million number. And there's lots of things we can do to continue to earn money and hopefully do better than 5% a year, but we want to show just a very simple 5% return. So this is a way, without modifying the earnings of the credit union, to give us some money to put into donating. And again, we can even clean up some donations and go to 501c3 only charities to give to, and then really focus on what we want our social impact to be. So here, what can we invest in? What are the types of things that we're talking about? Because we are talking about more risk than a standard investment portfolio. And so we look here, we can invest in stocks, index funds, preferred stocks, corporate bonds, banknotes, and a whole bunch of other things. It's really quite open, but we want to make sure that we're investing in things that we understand the risk of, and the risk fits inside of your equity and inside of your overall position of your credit union. So here our goal is higher yields. We also have to remember that we are looking at earnings not only from dividends, such as buying a preferred stock or a corporate bond with a higher yield, but we're also talking about the price improvement of stocks going from $1 to $2, for example. So total return does involve both those components, earnings and price change. So when making a portfolio, we really want to be careful that we recommend a structure that's very unique for you. We need to make sure it hits your objectives. We have to look at your balance sheet, capital position, asset liability management report, liquidity and income. All these components we have to look at, and we have to very, very carefully develop and build these portfolios. So with that, I really appreciate your time. A little bit of idea-wise, we're seeing is in the market, our returns have been between 6 and 12% on an annual basis. These are not applicable to any one portfolio, but overall portfolios. But something to think about where earnings can be. I think it'd be easy for a good alternative portfolio to cover the 5 or 4% examples I've used in here. So with that, I really want to thank you. I appreciate virtually meeting everyone, and hopefully we'll see you stop by our booth at the conference today.